If you've ever said, I don't know why I'm like this, or why can't I just decide? I want you to pause, because that question already assumes that there is something wrong with you. And most of the time, nothing is. You're not confused because you lack clarity. You're confused because trusting yourself stopped feeling safe, and nobody ever explained it to you. You don't wake up one day unable to decide. You learned to hesitate. And today we're going to slow it down to that exact moment where it happens, so you can finally understand why second guessing is running your life. Welcome to the Inner Launch, where we talk about rebuilding self-trust, reclaiming your identity, and creating your next chapter from the inside out. I'm your host, Christina Volkovich. In this podcast, we explore the inner work that creates real confidence. In the last episode, we talked about the quiet confidence crisis and how you didn't break, you adapted. Today, we're going one layer deeper. Because if adaptation kept you safe, why don't you trust yourself anymore? This is where your next chapter continues. This isn't an insecurity problem. Most people assume that they don't trust themselves because they are insecure. But insecurity isn't the core issue here. The people that often struggle the most with self-trust are often thoughtful, capable, and deeply self-aware people. The issue isn't a lack of insight. It's that somewhere along the way, trusting yourself had consequences. And questioning yourself started to feel responsible. Self-trust is not the same as confidence. Self-trust is about self-reliability. It's the relationship between what you feel and what you do next. Self-trust is when something inside of you says yes or no, and you listen. You back yourself. Most people didn't lose self-trust because they failed. They lost it because listening to themselves once created tension, conflict, or loss. And second guessing doesn't start as doubt. It starts in the body. When you move towards a decision, you feel a pull, a knowing. Your nervous system senses risk. Your chest may tighten, your stomach may drop, your breathing may shift ever so slightly. And then your mind turns on, not to help you choose, but to protect you from the cost of choosing. Thoughts may rush in. What if I can't do this? What if I'm the wrong person? What if I'm making a mistake? What if I lose money? What if I lose time? What if I feel stupid? Some of these thoughts may even sound logical, mature, responsible, but they are really protective narrative and not truth. Second guessing feels intelligent because it delays commitment. When you don't fully choose, you don't fully risk. For a nervous system that learned conflict equals danger, or loss equals abandonment, hesitation feels safer than trust. You didn't become doubtful because you're incapable. You became doubtful because thinking became safer than choosing. A time when this happened for me was when I realized one of my passions, which is travel. If you can see my dress, I'm currently wearing a map dress. If you're just listening to the audio, just imagine it. Anyway, I learned that I like travel. And when I learned this, I was actually traveling. I realized how happy I felt when I was traveling, learning new cultures, meeting new people, getting to have conversations, and basically being out of my normal environment. I just fell in love with traveling. And at one point I decided I want to travel the world. I knew I wanted to travel the world. And instead of just being like, okay, I'm going to do it, I started asking, well, how? Where do you want to go? How much is it going to cost? What are you going to do with all your stuff? Are you going to sell your stuff? Are you going to put your stuff into storage? Where are you going to put it into storage? What country do you want to go to first? like all the questions that I had. And then, of course, I told other people I wanted to travel the world, and they asked even more questions. And, so now it just goes from like having a couple thoughts in your head of like starting out, this is great, to now I've got a lot of thoughts in my head and I really don't know what to do. So instead of continuously being excited for it, I kind of just stopped. I stopped being excited about traveling the world because it didn't look like something that I was ever going to do, because I had so much question behind it. I knew I wanted to do it, but I didn't know when. And yes, if you know me now, you know that I am currently traveling the world, but I did not get here easily. I got here, or came to this conclusion, after getting rear-ended in a car accident. And during that time, I realized how short life was. And I knew that I couldn't keep making my boss's dreams come true, and I needed to make my own come true. And it didn't matter if I didn't have all of the answers. I needed to do it for me. And I realized my intuition hadn't failed me. I just stopped backing myself. So how does self-trust erode over time? Well, it starts by creating a split. One part of you keeps offering information, and the other part keeps shutting it down. And every time it shuts it down, the part that offers information gets quieter and quieter. And you are only left with the part that keeps shutting things down. Over time, you stop checking in with yourself first. You scan others' reactions and seek reassurance. And eventually, the part of you that knows just stops speaking so loudly. Not because it disappeared, but because it learned that it wouldn't be listened to. The cost of not trusting yourself isn't dramatic. It's cumulative. Decisions feel heavier, your mind feels louder. You live with a low-grade sense of, did I do the right thing? And slowly, you stop wanting it as badly. Not because your desire is gone, but because wanting creates tension. And you've learned to manage tension by minimizing yourself. That is how we shrink. And we shrink to fit all different situations. It happens slowly over time. Self-trust isn't rebuilt through certainty. It's rebuilt through evidence. Evidence that when you listen to yourself, you follow through. That is why keeping promises to yourself is so important, because you are building a track record to yourself that says, yes, I trusted myself here, so I know I can trust myself there. It doesn't matter how big or small the promises are. They can be the smallest thing of, today I'm gonna pick up my clothes off the floor, or as big as, I'm gonna run 10 miles, or I'm gonna travel the world. It does not matter. The important thing is that you are building evidence for yourself that you can trust yourself. You just need one honest no and one honest yes. And that is how your nervous system relearns safety. When self-trust is shaky, fear doesn't sound like fear. It shows up as logic. In the next episode, we're going to talk about how fear disguises itself as reason, and how to finally tell the difference between what's protective and what's actually true to you. This is your reminder that you don't need to have it all figured out. Real change doesn't come from rushing. It comes from paying attention. You just need to stay honest with yourself and keep choosing you, however big or small the decision is. If today's conversation resonated with you, I want to invite you to subscribe. Send this to a friend who may need to hear it, and see how we can work together in the show notes. This has been another episode of The Inner Launch. I will see you in the next episode. Bye!